If you're watching this, I'm dead.
Batman is dead. That's the basis for the story of Gotham Knights, and the events that follow this opening relate to how the rest of the Bat family, which is Robin, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Red Hood, how they deal with this loss. There may be some mixed expectations on Gotham Knights. After all, this is the same studio that developed the brilliant but often overlooked Batman Arkham Origins, but then there's a very different style and tone to this game. Where there was once one hero, now there are four, and each one has to have their identity come across without compromising on the action. From the start of the game, you choose which Bat family member to play as to kick off this investigation into the death of Batman and the loose threads and the dangers that remain in Gotham City. However, you can very quickly start to switch between them as you get through the story, though only when you return to the Belfry, which is the central base of operations. This, as opposed to switching on the fly, ties into how the game as a whole flows. This is not a game where everything takes place in one night, like the Arkham games, but over multiple nights instead. Each night you start a patrol with your chosen character and you roam Gotham City, stopping crimes like assaults and robberies, and beating up and interrogating criminals for information. This then builds up crime points, which will eventually reveal premeditated crimes to foil on future nights. The criminals are divided into groups known as the Freaks, Mob, and Regulators, and they all have some ties to some of Gotham's most notorious criminals. With 4 different characters to choose from, you can hop between different styles of gameplay, and that is delivered for the most part quite well. Nightwing is much more acrobatic than the others, able to dodge enemy attacks with a very stylish ease, relating to his backstory as the original Robin, who, as everybody knows, had a young career in the circus that was cut short by tragedy. Red Hood is a brawler with brute strength and wields a pair of guns, but they fire non-lethal rounds, and this alludes to his violent past before he was rehabilitated by Batman. Batgirl is the closest in style to playing as the previous Batman games, and that's thanks to having similar gear like batarangs and eventually being able to use her cape to glide around the city. Meanwhile, Robin is great for stealth, but he wields a bow staff for when the action kicks off and is able to hit multiple enemies with it and his abilities and various techniques. You can go it alone into this game, or you can team up with another player in co-op. The online connection is really nice and solid in our experience, with only fairly minor hints of lag when racing through the open world. But most importantly, the combat hangs together really quite nicely with 2 players. There's plenty of nice touches to this setup, such as level scaling, which will boost a player's strength up to match the host, and all of the experience that you earn is then carried back to when the second player returns to their game. Amusingly, you can both play as the same character, so you could have a pair of Nightwing twins going around and crime fighting. In general, the combat in Gotham Knights will be quite familiar if you've played the Arkham games, or if you're coming from the Spider-Man games from Insomniac. But there are changes. There's no combo counter, and enemies do not really wait their turn to attack you anywhere near as much. All 4 characters play really quite well, and I would recommend switching between them to get different styles of play. You don't really have to worry about leveling up one character at a time, because they all share XP and level up concurrently, helping to keep their abilities and their unlocks in relative parity. They do have different abilities though. The unlocks through the skill tree relate to health, attacks and movement, and there are also momentum abilities, which are special attacks and gadgets that you can use in the fight. Batgirl, for example, can summon a drone that will fire on enemies and restore some of her health. She's also got a rapid punching maneuver and a stun attack that will scatter the enemies away from you. Each character also has a 4th abilities tab called Knighthood, and this, alongside many of the momentum abilities, is only unlocked after completing certain challenges for each specific character. These don't take too long, and they do open up some stronger abilities to use in fights, so they're well worth taking your time to investigate. Gotham Knights is full of these kinds of challenges to complete, from fighting and defeating a certain type of enemy several times, to finding the many collectibles in the game. As you complete challenges, you will earn XP and resources to craft new suits, new melee weapons, and new ranged weapons. Crafting new gear lets you unlock elemental offensive and defensive capabilities, which in turn allows you to counter the different gang's strengths. So Mr. Freeze's regulators, they're weak to fire damage, so you want to unlock those and use those when fighting him. There are also time trials to tackle using the Bat Cycle. This can be used to ride around the open world of Gotham City, and it does the job, though from the handling you can tell that this is definitely not an open world racer. The other option that you have to move around the city is to grapple and then jump across the rooftops, endlessly tapping that shoulder button to zip around. If you complete the Knighthood challenges for each character, then they will eventually unlock their own unique ways to move around as well. While the main story focuses on the Court of Owls, there are also three main villains from Batman's Rogues Gallery. We've got Harley Quinn, Clayface and Mr. Freeze, all providing optional side cases for you to tackle. To be honest, these are much more entertaining and interesting than the main story, which comes across as being oddly disjointed unless you decide to focus purely on completing one main mission after another. This could be down to the way that the events themselves are spread across multiple nights instead of having the more concise time frame of the Arkham series. Graphically, there are tonal differences to the Arkham games of old, but Gotham Knights does actually look really quite good. Yes, it's locked to 30 FPS on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, and that will be disappointing for some, especially with other reporting showing that it's not a locked 30 FPS. But having said that, the character models do look really good. The number of suits and customization options means that you can really play around and alter the look of each character to suit your tastes. And then when you look at Gotham City itself, it does have a distinctive atmosphere around it. The neon lights and high-rises of downtown Gotham really contrast with the more historic and less built-up areas in North Gotham. I also really enjoy the characterization and the voice acting. Each hero goes through their emotions of dealing with their grief, throwing out one-liners at enemies, and bouncing off each other by joking around and offering each other some support. The world around them feels quite lived in as well, thanks to characters getting messages from other members of the Justice League who offer support to deal with the loss of Bruce Wayne. With Batman dead in this universe, his four proteges have got big boots to fill in Gotham Knights. And thankfully, Warner Bros. Montreal has largely pulled this off, creating a Gotham that is filled with things to do, letting the four characters' contrasting styles show in combat, and having their personalities come through in the story. Thanks as ever for checking out our reviews. Hopefully you've enjoyed this look at Gotham Knights. Let us know what you think about the game in the comments below. Before you go though, make sure to like, subscribe, share, do all of the usual YouTube things, and hopefully we will see you again soon. Goodbye!
Just getting started.